The war on TikTok rages as our government tries to ban yet another thing that they claim to be dangerous to society while disingenuously concealing its actual motives.
Instead of screaming, "Orange man bad" on TikTok, maybe they should come up with some real solutions, because that isn't going to solve the problems that America is facing.
And I'll be honest with you, when I heard that the CEO of TikTok was sitting for several hours before Congress, I really didn't think much of it. We've seen Twitter's CEO and Google's CEO sit before Congress, answering an exhausting docket of questions about things that ironically can be Googled. And we saw Mark Zuckerberg sit before Congress several times, being asked such inane questions as, how does Facebook make any money? Anyone with any kind of basic tech understanding can tell you the answer, and yet the members of Congress who had time to prepare their lines of questioning and fill in their own knowledge gaps so that they could ask more meaningful and thoughtful questions during their allotted time with the CEO repeatedly asked the question in various forms, how does Facebook make money?
Well, if so, how do you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
Senator, we run ads.
Ultimately, little, if anything, ever comes from these public hearings, whether or not anything actually should come from them. But the war on TikTok has been going on since TikTok became a thing, since then President Donald Trump first floated the idea of banning the app. Now, I'll level with you here. I don't even like TikTok, and even though I ask you all to follow me at the end of these videos, I'm a bad TikToker, admittedly so. I hardly ever post, and when I do, I get on, I post, and I get out. I have a lot of thoughts on what it does to people's brains, specifically to my brain, and to what it does for public discourse, for better or for worse. But honestly, it's not necessarily any worse than any other social media platform as far as the things that I am personally concerned with. And that said, I can understand its societal value. Our government, however, isn't floating the idea of banning TikTok because they're worried about the collective's declining mental health or waning critical thinking skills or anything like that. They're certainly not worried about the children who have died from the viral TikTok challenges that they brought up during the hearing. As our nation grieves yet another school shooting, we all know by now that our congressional leaders don't actually care how many children needlessly die in this country.
It's a horrible, horrible situation, and we're not going to fix it. Criminals are going to be criminals, and my daddy fought in the Second World War, fought in the Pacific, fought the Japanese, and he told me, he said, buddy, he said, if somebody wants to take you out and doesn't mind losing their life, there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do about it.
That was Republican Congressman Tim Burchett from Tennessee, by the way, and his own daughter is homeschooled. Anyway, they're floating the idea of banning TikTok because allegedly they're worried about data leaks to China. The narrative that Congress is pushing right now is that it's a problem that TikTok is owned by China specifically because of data security concerns, and both Congress and the White House are insisting that TikTok sell to an American company or be blocked from American users. They're using the fact that China is run by a communist party as their reasoning, insisting that TikTok needs to be an American company. That feels a bit America first to me, which I guess is why Trump also wanted to ban the app, but it's capitalizing on the fact that a lot of Americans, for one reason or another, don't seem to trust the Chinese government. However, the notion also assumes that most Americans do or should trust the American government, and currently, according to Pew Research, only about 20% of Americans do. I think it's safe to say that many Americans on both sides of the aisle do not trust our government to do the right thing, specifically with our data. The TikTok CEO, when asked about data privacy concerns as they pertain to national ownership, said as much when he brought up our own country's less than stellar track record with data security, hearkening back to just a few years ago with the Facebook and Cambridge Analytica scandal. As a result of the privacy breach, Facebook had to pay some heavy fines and revamp its privacy policy. But the data that was siphoned from American users without their knowledge or permission was used to inform an American presidential campaign. The real damage had already been done. The proposed solution to this TikTok problem is that an American company, Oracle, will be in charge of the data instead. If Americans don't trust our own government with our personal data, we sure as hell don't trust these corporations with our personal data, but it doesn't really matter either way. By using these apps, we're submitting data to some database somewhere. We know that. Everyone who uses social media or a smartphone or a laptop understands that to some degree. We also know by now that someone somewhere is analyzing our personal data and using it to manipulate our ideologies and values, or to swing elections with misinformation, or to sell us more things that we just don't need. That someone is either going to be someone in China or someone here in the US. And if it's here in the US, it's going to be our government and at least some major corporations who are involved. So the thinking is that our government isn't concerned with our data security at all. They just want that data for themselves, and TikTok is a treasure trove. Data is the major global currency, and the United States, evidently, would like to maintain its title as the richest country in the world. All right, that is it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Who knows, maybe I will post something one of these days.